like, okay, well, can I do that many clients, $100, under $100 a month, like.
Yeah. Oh, I told somebody this week on a 1-to-1, or maybe it was last week, I don't even remember, on a mindset 1-to-1, like if you're planning on hiring, like do that right off the bat, because I wish I would have started, because it was so like you get like, now I'm just in the habit of when I sign a new client, like I know what's going to contractors or whatever, like, so you're not counting on that revenue. But it was so easy in the beginning, because it was so hard in the beginning because I counted on the revenue to start hiring contractors. But if you start off right off the bat, it makes it so much easier.
Good morning, Tom.
Hey, good morning. How are you all?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Doing great.
Good.
Awesome.
Just chatting. I think the plan for today is marketing or whatever other questions around the business come up, but we get marketing questions a lot. So
sure.
It's like, we can't beat that with like a dead horse. Like there's always a new question that gets asked. So.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, I just give you a little background. I'm a high school counselor by day. And so this is really yesterday was my last day for about 5 weeks. So first day off. So
yay.
Excited to get to this point. Now I can begin to work on my business a little bit more. So last week, if you remember, I joined, but I was at work and I obviously couldn't turn the camera on and all that good stuff. So just obviously want to be here and kind of hear what you guys are doing and hear from others and, kind of learn a little bit.
Yeah. So actually you're in a perfect situation for what we were just talking about. So we were just talking about hiring contractors from the very beginning. And what I was going to say before you joined was, for those that are working full time while growing their business, they're uniquely in this position where if they hire as they go, like even if it's a contractor. Are you in California?
No, I'm actually in Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky.
Cool. California makes it a little harder to hire a contractor if they're fulfilling the work, but if they're setting their own hours, doing their own thing, like running their own business, I'm comfortable saying that they're a contractor. Like if they're acting like a contractor, saying that they're a contractor. But even if it's an employee, right, 10 hours a week, or adding hours as they go, because what that allows you to do is it allows you to take on as many clients as you can talk to. That fits, that makes sense. All of those things. We don't want to take on a ton of bad clients. We want to have some sort of filter. Like, yes, this client is going to be a good fit for my personality. No, this client is going to drive me absolutely up the wall. But as you grow, what we see is contractors just take on the work thinking, I'm going to do it myself. And it's not going to be any big deal. I don't have to really pay attention to SOPs as long as I know what I'm doing. And then they get stuck. At some point, they get stuck with how much work that they can handle. And it's a little bit harder to transition out of that because now you're having to fulfill the work, create the SOPs, and train a contractor. But from the very beginning, you can get the client, work on the SOPs while the contractor is coding transactions, and then train them on the SOPs while you're looking for a new client. And that doesn't mean that you don't take on any clients. Like I still have some clients I do almost 100% myself.
Yeah, same.
Like I have a contractor that does payroll, but I do all of the other stuff and things, or I have clients that I do 100% of it because of just preference or like it's entertaining or whatever. And but most of my clients are done by a contractor and then I'm receiving. So we were just talking that doing that from the beginning, so it just changes the way you attack the business.
Right. You're able to leverage your business a little bit more, I believe.
Yeah. Yep.
I totally get that. And it's definitely something I would be open to. obviously I've got to have the clients and I got to have, the business to warrant that. And that's the piece where I'm at right now is developing my marketing messages and really getting the word out there that this is what I'm doing now to obviously get some clients. And to your point, then as they're coming in, not take on all the work myself, but then bring someone on makes perfect sense.
Yep.
Yeah. And every conversation, 100% always brings us back to marketing and the process to onboard a client, right? Like, and we were just talking about a book called Fix This Next, and we really dive through it in the success plan, but it talks about ways to fix your business. And, but it's on a cycle, right? So we're always reevaluating each part of our business as we grow. So once you hit 10, like maybe 5,000, your process might look different to offboard a client. Or maybe you haven't even thought about offboarding a client, but now you're at 5,000 and you have a client that is driving you crazy or isn't getting you stuff and they're not a good fit and you need to let them go. Now you have to think about it, right? So there's always something to be improving. But with that, on marketing, what are you currently doing for marketing, Tom?
Well, I mean, I've got so QuickBooks, obviously I've got my QuickBooks Pro Advisor set up. And my next step is working on LinkedIn and kind of getting that more optimized and, look more like I have a business, a bookkeeping business, and just, Tom's LinkedIn profile, right? So working on it from that perspective.
Gotcha. With that said, we do have a LinkedIn training that one of our coaches did on our website somewhere. I could go grab the link and share that with you.
Sure.
I do know that she went through my profile and she did like mine. She was like, it's pretty good. I think she gave some tweaks that I just don't remember what they are. But I know I've had people go to my LinkedIn and I'm not on it very often, but I have had people go there to check me out or find me and message me or pick up the phone and call me from it. So it's definitely a good thing to have in place. But it's also a great thing to use for marketing too. Let me find that for you. But you might already be good. I don't. You might already know where you're headed with that. And then, so are you using LinkedIn primarily to market, or did you say that you're also using Facebook?
Well, I have not really used my Facebook yet. Primarily because what we talked about earlier, I'm still working full, I've got my full-time day gig. Until I really feel like I've got that confidence set up that like this thing is really working for me. I haven't, and I'm friends with a lot of work folks, on my Facebook that, I don't know if I really want to put that out there right yet. So that's why I kind of leaned towards LinkedIn starting out. I don't know if you hear that from others or if that's common or if you're like, it really doesn't matter. If you want to be successful, you got to dive in. I don't know. I'd be interested to hear what you say on that.
I was about to say that's really common. We hear that all the time because and when I was working, I was actually working at a CPA firm and it would have been a conflict of interest.
Sure.
So I would have threatened my job to do that in a couple of positions, but then I transitioned and then I wound up not starting mine until I was fully stay at home as an experiment, but it's another story. Elise is saying, do it scared. I think she did the same thing. And I think she was scared and she told her boss, and I think they were supportive, Elise, right? At some point. But they thought they were going to keep you on. And that changed. God provided for you in a unique way there.
Yeah, I didn't tell them till I threatened to quit. And then they're like, what can we do to save your position? We'll give you 6 weeks off of unpaid time since you're quitting. We'll give you unlimited. They threw everything at me. So I would just encourage you. Sherry and Megan both really pushed me to do things scared. So I hear the hesitation on the Facebook and all these things. Everything's never going to be perfect. I've now been in my business over a year. God's provided I'm now able to do this full time. I have my own contractors, so I hear everything they're saying. I hear your fears and doubts, but I would just challenge you to do it anyways, because nothing, if you don't push through that, you're just delaying what God could be doing for us.
Sure. Makes total sense.
Yeah, I was working still full time when I started my business. And I was kind of nervous and stuff at first too, because I had a lot of coworkers on there. I was working in an eye doctor's office though at the time, so it wasn't conflict of interest or anything like that. But so I started posting, and then of course the questions started coming. Well, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And stuff like that. But I mean, I was just completely honest with them. Like, I needed the extra income. My daughter was starting to do some extracurricular activities, and I knew they were not going to be able to, like, they would give me a raise, but they're only going to give so much. Like, I have to make extra income some kind of way. And they were like, okay, whatever. And then of course 4 months later I left, but but yeah, they were supportive as well. So I think a lot of times we just psych ourselves out of that. And once I finally told them, and even like put in my notice and stuff, it was like the same day that I told them, like, hey, I'm leaving on this date. I had referral, like tax person contact me to want to send referrals, and like a whole bunch of doors open. So I knew like I made the right decision for sure at that point.
So of all the platforms, we talked about the QuickBook Pro Advisor profile. We've got Facebook, LinkedIn. There's others, I'm sure. Like, is there any of them that if you were going to pick one to start out and say, look, I'm going to dive in and get this, as optimized and as perfect as can be, as opposed to trying to do it all at the same time, which one would you focus on first?
I think we all have different opinions on that.
Well,
we actually recently had a discussion about the same thing. And because a lot of people, so just working with so many different bookkeepers over the last few years, what I've seen, or what we've seen, is you have to do what you will enjoy, whatever it is, no matter whichever platform it is. Do one that you enjoy doing, because if you don't, you dread doing it and you don't show up and you don't do it at all. So then your marketing never gets done. So like for me, Facebook is where my first steps were. Sherry did Upwork.
I did Upwork, so I don't even think I announced it. I would have to go back on Facebook to see when I announced it. I think I did, but I wasn't announcing it. I don't think I really announced it until I joined another coaching program, and they're like, oh, you should like formally announce your bookkeeping. I was like, oh, I just started doing. But I started doing on Upwork. So theoretically with Upwork, none of your coworkers would know you're even doing this. And to date, I still think 90% of my portfolio came from Upwork.
Wow.
Over the course of the years. That was the only thing I was doing at first. I had a client who was a friend, and so they were my only client for the longest time that didn't come from Upwork. I was still posting on Facebook and things like that, so I had friends support my business, but they knew, liked, and trusted me already, so they would refer me or things like that. So even though I was adding friends and doing all the Facebooky things, it was really just building that authority with my connections that I would see on a monthly basis, like in person. So for me, Facebook was the way I solidified some of the networking I was doing, rather than like creating a new audience. I have one client that came from Facebook. I was tagged in a group that, an admin was getting to know me or something. They're a $75 a month client. So I'm like, I don't want to attract people like that. So Upwork worked for me, and that was completely like in secret, right? No one knew. But I know other people who use Instagram. Some people use Facebook and Instagram, kind of connect them and go, they just focus on that. We recently had a coach suggest which I thought was a really good thought behind it, of Facebook and Instagram, one or the other, both, because they're kind of connected from like a ownership standpoint. So if you get kicked off one, you might get kicked off the other because they're really connected. Plus one more. So once you have once you have a plan, what's the one more? So yours might be LinkedIn. It might be Instagram and LinkedIn. It might be Facebook and LinkedIn. It might be Instagram and Upwork, whatever that is. I wound up deciding after I did the cost and the math on Upwork, for me, the cost was worth it. So it does cost a little bit to do proposals and send that out. And it's changed a little bit. For me, it was worth it because it was easy for me. For me, it was easy to do and grow my business. And for that, it was worth it. For some reason, it just clicked. And that was the first thing that clicked. And I went with it. So, but you could do YouTube. You could do podcast. One of the things I've been testing out is doing podcast, whether it's a sponsorship or getting on and doing an interview. And those strangely work, like, because you are utilizing other people's audiences. And that's something that a lot of bookkeepers don't do. I had read the book Get Different by Mike Michalowicz. I guess I've like read almost all of his books. I'm a nerd. I apparently enjoy him as an author, so I just keep reading his books. Get Different. He actually mentions a bookkeeper in there as well. And but the premise of the book is look at another industry, not your industry. What is working for another industry that your industry isn't doing? Well, bookkeepers are pretty much introverts.
Right. Being able to think out of the box.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, YouTube would be thinking outside of as far as like standard, right? Most bookkeepers, Facebook is behind the computer. They don't have to be belly to belly and they can make that work. Upwork for me, I wasn't in a position with 2 under 2 to go be belly to belly with people, talking face to face with people, right? That wasn't going to happen. So Upwork worked for me because it was tangibly getting me traction, quick traction, without being, I could get on a phone call, right? That worked for me. But if someone came to me and said, I need 3 clients in the next 60 days or 30 days, I would be like, do it all. Like, how many people can you talk to it during a day? And you just said that you had 5 weeks off, and we're kind of picking on you because
it's all good. That's why I'm here.
Right? Like we started this conversation. So if anyone, on here wants to chime in or things like that, feel free. But you have 5 weeks off where you're not going into the office. What can you do in 5 weeks? 5 weeks is actually a long time. And I would challenge you not to, when I say waste the time perfecting your LinkedIn profile or perfecting your Facebook profile, I would really just take massive action. How many CPAs can you meet with in person? How many CFOs can you meet with in person? How many belly to belly conversations can you have in the next 5 weeks? That will get you out of your comfort zone, but will also set you up for success come tax season, because you're going to come to mind. You're going to put them on an email list. You're going to check in with them at holidays. You're going to send them QuickBooks tips. You're going to do something like that to keep yourself on the forefront of anyone you meet with in the next 5 weeks. You can't really meet with people the same way when school starts.
Absolutely.
It's just
Sherry, I think your internet's messing up.
I'll turn off my camera, see if that helps me catch up.
Okay. It sounds like you're good now.
Okay. Sorry, Tommy. What were you saying?
No, I was just listening to you, but like you said, you kind of broke up a little bit, so I missed that last little bit.
Oh, I was just saying, I think it looks different for you to meet with people once school starts again than it does right now.
Sure. No, that makes sense.
Because I've also challenged people, a lot of people come to us and they're like, well, I need a website. That's the first thing we do. So instead of doing business plans anymore, the first thing we do is a website. Forget the business plan, we jump straight to a website. I argued on Facebook not too long ago or I just challenged in the Facebook group. I made a post saying, if you don't have 3 clients, you don't need a website. And 3 was arbitrary. I think we spend a lot of time on distractions. And by distractions, it's anything that's not immediately moving our business forward. Yes, at some point you need a website. But if you don't have business funds to pay for the website, you don't need to do it yet. Because a lot of times we're like, oh, I can spend personal money on it. I've got an extra $200. I can just invest that into the business. But that's also your hard-earned money. Let the business front the expenses.
Sure.
And I think that was one kind of benefit of using Upwork was I didn't have a website, which is totally abnormal for me because I am the person that goes and does a website first if I have an idea, because for some reason that makes it more credible in my mind, but it doesn't. And I think that's probably why this business, out of any other businesses I had tried in the past, worked, was because I just started taking action and focusing my actions on things that were working, that brought in revenue. So let the business pay for, if you run ads, if you do anything like that, if you have to buy a new computer, let the business pay for all of it. I think the money I invested in my business was, what did I purchase? I had a client actually pay for my LLC creation. Random story. Because again, I started mine as an experiment and he was like, oh, I'll pay for it. I'm like, all right. And then what else? I know I spent like $400 on little things. I think while I was waiting for my bank account to get established, and that might have been Upwork. And I think I needed desktop for one of the clients I signed. And maybe email. Maybe I paid for email and the domain. I probably paid for the domain and the email. But I don't think I did a website. I'll have to go look. You guys can challenge me to pull that up later. But I did take that money back out immediately before year end and said, the business must pay for itself if I do it. But again, I had 202 and I wasn't really interested in wasting money. So I was like, I will not let this be an endeavor again, because I had done it before. Like I had an Etsy shop, I sold stuff on eBay and some of all of those things, Amazon business, things like that, and just in essence wasted a lot of money trying to make something work. But I didn't know the value of coaches at that time. Elise says, random question, no potential client meeting today and wondering if either of you have worked with a franchise that gets a spread from their company. I just want to make sure.
Quick FYI, I amen that second statement. Like I would not be where I am today without you and Megan, like 100%. So thank you both so much.
Well, and I say that because when I started, like my husband and I really pursued owning businesses and owning assets in 2014, but we didn't know what we were doing. And we actually missed out on a couple of really good opportunities that we look back and we're like, I wish we had went ahead and just done that. but we were focused on the wrong things. And we come from a background where real estate agents and coaches are just out to like get your money. And so I had no, like, you go to school, you get it, like, go to college, get a degree, buy whatever you want. So we did that. And okay, I'm technically using mine, right? I have a master's in accounting, but my bachelor's is in a completely different field. I still think I got a lot of value out of that. I will never say it's wasted. But we could have hit some of our goals faster if and one of the coaches I followed, 2 of them now are still in business, are still thriving. And I still consult, I still like go to their resources on YouTube and their websites to this day. And I'm like, what if we had hired, like, what if I had actually joined their programs? What if I had actually done it scared? But I was not in an environment because I was an employee. And I didn't have anyone, like, that would have just been a waste of money. So put all your money into a 401k was really the thought there. Anyway, that's besides the point. And I was trying to do my CPA exam, and I don't like tests. I wasn't in a position where I had enough life experience to do my CPA exam. And now I just, with the kids, I'm like, that's not a high priority. Because I was like, we were unpacking and I opened my CPA books and I was like, some of this makes so much more sense now. I was like, I had no clue what a partnership really meant. First, while I was doing my master's, because that's not what I was working on at the CPA firm. We were doing nonprofits. I was doing audits. I then moved into for-profits at another firm and did partnerships and did combined financial statements and all of that. But it was too late. Like, I was moving on to family and giving up that time. And so I knew I was giving that up, but it still bugs me as like if I knew then what I know now, I probably could have passed that exam. Because I was studying. It wasn't a matter of studying. The way I learned is very much contextual. So anyway, back to franchise. That gets a spread from their company that you then put into QuickBooks. Elise, when you say spread, can you elaborate? Is that like?
So to my knowledge, it's a literal spreadsheet. Sorry, let me get into the other room.
Is it a spreadsheet of how they want their books set up, like stuff coded a certain way, certain categories?
I'm assuming so. So he is, okay, so sorry, one last caveat to, sorry, I forgot your name, sir, but basically none of my clients, Tom, none of my clients have come from social media. So I would challenge you to that. Everybody, as Megan and Sherry have said, everybody's different. I have tried all of the social media things, not perfectly, not done expertly, but I don't like it. And none of my clients are literally none of them are using that. That's not how they found me. It was, I went to an event and I happened to just say to certain people, it's like, hey, if you ever need a bookkeeper, I would love to help people like you. And they're like, actually, I do. So I would say, go to events you're interested in and just talk to people, because once I'm a get to know you type of person, I'm going to get a gut feeling. And if you're good people, we're probably going to do business together. And that's exactly how, one of my best clients, he's like, I do things on a handshake. And I was like, great, but you still have to sign a contract with me. Right? So anyways, back to the question. So today, this guy I met through, ironically, I visited a BNI. So that's another thing you could do during this time, Tom, is just visit BNIs. It's going to get you a lot of exposure to a lot of different people. A lot of BNIs don't end up having bookkeepers. I didn't have very good success joining a specific group, but it'll at least, this meeting was just visiting a BNI, and it was the partner that I met, or I guess an employee, And so what I decided to do is he's like, hey, the owner really needs a new person, but I don't really know like how quickly he's moving. Well, I was running a promo and I specifically decided to use them as a printer so I could go in and meet the owner. And so for like $100, I went and had these flyers printed up. And when I went in, had an amazing conversation with the owner. And basically this gal's been with them for like, since he started 7 years ago. He's part of a franchise. He not only does printing, but he also does car decals, wrapping, all of that kind of stuff. And he said, well, once a month I get a spreadsheet and I forward it to her and then she inputs it somewhere. And I said, well, are you using QuickBooks? And he's like, no. And I said, well, what is she sending you? He's like, oh, well, she tracks it in QuickBooks. I said, okay, well, do you have access to that? And he's like, no. I said, okay, well, you should get access to your QuickBooks. That's kind of important. So I told him to do that before our meeting today. And then also payroll. He has no idea who his payroll provider is. I asked him to ask her that as well. And then he also needs taxes done because, you know, they're giving away goods. So there's quarterly sales. So I'm assuming it's breaking down all of the information from like what they've sold, the business they've done, their taxes, all of it. I'm assuming it's just done on multiple like tabs of the spreadsheet. Because this is not the first franchise on our talk to. So I've seen someone else's, the way that theirs works, and they're a window person. But I've never had to look at someone's spreadsheet before. And I'm really hoping he got access to the QuickBooks file because I told him, I said, I can't give you strategic advice until I can see like the visibility in your company, right? Because she's not even getting him his profit and loss and balance sheet. So that's another way that I usually like to, you know, help people out is I'm able to like look at that and say, well, this is where your money's going, or I don't know. I guess because I have zero access to the QuickBooks, I'm feeling a little insecure about it all. Like, how do you even approach that, you know?
So,
yeah,
go ahead, Sherry.
No, go for it.
I was just going to say, I've seen some, like, I don't personally have a franchise, but like I've helped some of the other bookkeepers with theirs, like with questions and stuff. And pretty much from what they had was a spreadsheet, but it was like a list of the chart of accounts and stuff. So it was kind of how the franchise wanted to see it set up. So they would use that to initially start the books to know what categories they needed for like their P&L and balance sheet. And then they would just send them a copy of the P&L and the balance sheet at the end of the month. But the spreadsheet was kind of a guide. And I don't know if that's going to be similar. It sounds like it probably is. But the spreadsheet was just kind of a guide so they knew what categories they were looking for. And it just kind of makes it easier for them, for the franchise to stay on top of looking at every location's different books, I guess, if that makes sense.
Okay. Interesting. I'm still a little lost on like how, I guess, like he's unsatisfied because like another client, they ended up, I guess she's been inputting it into his QuickBooks. The way that it gets transported over into the profit and loss and balance sheet is a little different. I don't know what that means, but I guess when he's taken it to his tax preparer, he's always like, hey, that's a little odd. She does things a little differently. Well, then this last time, last year, she ended up between the balance sheet and the profit and loss, the sales where it should match was off by $80,000. And I said, yep, I've had a client that was, and it was $100,000 difference. And he was like, I don't understand. So there's also potential for me, well, and I see Debbie's on the call. So really Debbie would be getting some experience with the cleanup here on this too, but of, 6 months worth of back work. So, I just want to do right by him. He's been frustrated. He doesn't understand what's going on. And when I talked to him, thankfully now doing taxes, I was able to kind of explain some things, and he was really excited that I actually knew what I was talking about with taxes. And they're like, no one's ever explained this to us before, blah, 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 blah. But, I guess where I shine is because I love doing the advisory and strategy. I was like, well, what's your goal with your business? And when you ask someone like a question like that, you're going to get some really interesting answers. But, as I kind of just prodded him along a little bit, he is interested in turning this over to his son at some point, but he's not in a position to do that. Sorry, I'm rambling. Anyways, that was the information I have.
You should be fine to enter it so the spreadsheet from the company, Kyle gets something kind of similar, but that doesn't include anything. That just includes some of the POS side and the invoicing side. If they're also swiping like a business card and it's not being reported to the franchise, that might not be included. But I would match it. UPS kind of does something similar to that, where you have to like send in your file for the royalties. So there's a specific report you have to send in. So it's going to depend more on how the franchise on the back end works as far as royalties, franchise fees, all of those things go. But for them to have insight on it, I think it's good information to have.
Okay.
Oh, I forgot about your franchise, baby. You're right.
Hey, repeat that again. Special report you need to. Okay, back up. So if they are accepting transactions outside of the franchise account, that's not getting reported to the franchise? Is that what you're saying?
So I was just using a UPS store as an example. For a UPS store, or for like my husband's franchise, or I'm thinking of a couple of others too, if they need tape, boxing tape, or stamps, they need to restock urgently. They might not go through their franchisor to restock that. They might use an approved vendor. And so they might be using their business card to purchase those items to supply their store.
Yeah.
And depending on the franchise, you would have to look at their processes, their procedures, to know how that's being reported to their. So if the franchisor is doing all of the bookkeeping, then do they have access to the books, things like that? Typically, franchises do their own books. So the spreadsheets we're typically receiving from the franchisor is their side, but we also have our side, and we have to bring the two together.
Okay, so we're good on that part. I guess my question was more pertaining to accepting payment, because he uses the franchise for
They should not
credit
accept
card.
unless it's cash. They should not be accepting payments that do not run through the POS system, because even cash should be
Okay,
running
because he uses House Call Pro too, because it's less expensive than the franchising. Okay, then I need to let him know House Call Pro and accept all payments through the platform of the franchise.
Well, that's going to depend on their if they're allowed to use House Call Pro, that's fine.
Okay.
That's not necessarily
Then
wrong, because that all depends on their agreements.
Okay, then we'll need to have a discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, as long as the franchisor knows about it and is good with it, because the franchisor likely wants to just know that all the income is being reported.
Right, for the franchise payments and bonding and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I will
Thank
say,
you.
you've been niching into like UPS stores. I have learned UPS stores are very, what's the word? Cliquish. They really want bookkeepers who have worked with a UPS store before. And you might with other, you might find that with other franchises as well, but they are really good. It's a really good niche to be in. And I got comfortable with them because I audited franchises when I switched to for-profit. Because the franchisor does have to roll up all of those financials from the franchisees into a consolidated statement. And so they will bring CPAs in and things like that. But at the point you're really comfortable with bookkeeping and really comfortable with taking on something that might be more demanding. And some franchises, like my husband's, they're mom and pop franchises. So you can find those too. But something like UPS, Papa Murphy's, some of the really tiny where they're like, it's easier to own them type franchises. I would not exclude from getting to know them as far as potential bookkeeping options. So hopefully that helped someone not limit themselves to the mom and pop shops that they're limiting themselves to, because sometimes those aren't the best clients to have. So it's okay to approach companies that you think would never hire you. As business owners, some business owners, like if you think of like, and to get yourself comfortable with this, go to franchise sites. So like how to purchase a franchise and look at all the franchises available to be purchased. And that will start to give you an idea of what businesses are actually there to go talk to. And so I'm not talking about like Cold Stone. They have a higher point of entry. So the net worth to own a Cold Stone is a lot higher and it's a lot more out of reach. At that point, they might have a CPA. But if you're looking at like the rug doctors, the roofers, the carpenters, the windows, ooh, someone has a window friend. No, I just quoted a Windows franchise, like kind of like a blinds. What was it called? Megan, I don't know if you remember. Not like blinds.com, but something like that, very similar to like a franchise like that. Those are really good businesses to have, especially if you have your processes and procedures in place, because they have payroll, they have to have employees, likely. They have sales tax, most likely. They have AR, they have AP that you might not have to do, you might just have to reconcile. And then after that, they need them timely. So if you're like, my strong suit is getting financials out, I have processes in place to get them out. Those are great businesses to go target. And you can find them, get an idea of who to be looking for by going to those sites. So hopefully I just gave you, ooh, Tom, that is a great question and one I cannot answer. So at one point I got into a mindset funk. I raised my rates prematurely before I was ready to, and started sabotaging myself. Like as far as like, I would quote people and I'd be like, no, it's normally $400 a month, but you can pay me $150 a month type, like just had to get my act together. And I fixed that. But, and so with revenue, to fix that, what I did was I looked at my clients that I loved and said, okay, what do I love about these clients? Well, they were used to paying their employees. So they had at least 3 employees. So them getting my $400, $500, $800, $1,200 bill a month was no big deal. It wasn't a sticker shock to them. So I would personally recommend, and this isn't true across the board. I have clients that don't have contractors. But if I had to tell you an answer to this question, 2 to 3 employees and at least $250,000 a year, it is who I would kind of target. That doesn't mean you're excluding the people below that. And it doesn't mean you're not targeting the 5 million, the $10 million client. Because like I have a $4 million client that they're like 650, 630 a month. One of them, they have two companies technically, but one of them is like 4 million. They're a staffing company. They have about 26 transactions a month. And they don't need me to do CFO. They don't need me to do higher level. I am a glorified, really good data entry person to keep all of their stuff together because they have some complicated class tracking and things like that for their partners. So I know my value to them, but I also know it's not 4,000 a month, right? Because some people are like 1% of revenue. It wouldn't make sense for me to target them at that. So really knowing the problem you solve for that particular client will help you with the pricing. But I found that when I needed to reboot my mindset towards my business, I needed to look for clients who had at least 3 contractors and were above 250,000 a year. And then after that, I have found some clients that have $1 million businesses I never want to work with because they're trying to commit fraud. They don't want workers' comp audits. They're hiring under the table and they're just belittling me every time I turn around. That's not an ideal client. So there's a lot more to that goes into there, but I would start with that. We also had a question come through Facebook on Upwork. So she posted this when we were talking about Upwork. She asked, how do you, about ROI on it? I did a 2-hour training on Upwork because it did work for me. I had no issue with it. I'm going to see if I can turn my camera back on for you guys. So based on our marketing math, I found that if I did 3 to 5 a day, I would get at least 1 or 2 clients a month. But then I found myself needing to double my revenue so we could move states to be closer to parents. And I increased that to 10 a day. So 300 proposals a month. And I found with 300 proposals a month, I hit 3 clients a month. For me, that ROI'd because of the way I quote. So, and I have the marketing math all there. That marketing math is also in our 5-day marketing challenge. So if you're wondering how many people do I need to talk to, how many conversations do I need to have, how many meetings, how many proposals I need to send out, I have all of that in the 5-day marketing challenge. There's a tab that I think says marketing math on it because I'm a math nerd. And I'm like, what do I need to be doing and what can I expect? And I went and looked at all of my numbers. And this is true. And funny enough, Megan and I had also chatted. We're like, I think we just threw the number out there, 300. And then I started testing it. And I was like, wait, that's actually what I'm doing on Upwork. And we realized it doesn't matter what platform you are on, that marketing math is pretty average on whatever platform you're on. And it really proves action breeds action. So those that get the clients are the ones that are taking action. We had a coach we were chatting about, someone on YouTube, Megan and I were chatting about, I brought it up. So someone Kyle listened to, and he mentioned if you took 100 actions a day, now he broke it down to like, if you had $100 in ad spend and you sent 100 emails. I don't break it down like that because that's too nitpicky. I'm like, I sent an email, I did Facebook, I did whatever. I break it down like that. But his point was 100 actions a day. You'll be a lot farther ahead than the person only doing 4. Right? So if you break that down, you do 4 actions a day. So regardless of how many emails you send, how many Facebook friends you add, regardless of how many proposals, if you're doing consistently 4 of those actions a day, you're going to get somewhere faster than someone doing showing up for their business once or twice a week.
Yep.
So hopefully that answers the Upwork question. That training is still available on our website, and even though it's like 2.5 hour training, I give you templates on how to write a Upwork proposal. I give you the math. I show you behind the scenes everything I did, literally, to do Upwork, and I literally held nothing back. So it's the same price as our normal hour webinars. I just really wanted you to have the information. So it is packed full of information. And all the resources are right there. So if you're like, I can't listen to you for 2 hours, I take no offense. Get the downloads. If you're going to do it, don't waste your money. I promise but even though it was an experiment for me, it ROI'd from the very beginning. So if it's not, there's probably something we need to tweak on it.
And you could hop in a 1-to-1 with them if they're
Yeah,
doing it and help figure that out.
Yep, I've done that. I've gotten on. I look at the profile with you. I can whatever you need there. So just ask. There's no reason to stay stuck. Speaking of staying stuck, so we have 8 minutes left. There's 5 people still on. Is anyone here still stuck with like something that they're doing in their business? Like you're spinning your wheels, you're trying, but you're not seeing results. Is there anything Megan and I can troubleshoot for you?
Yes, Tom, I'll put the link in the chat for that.
Okay, good call. Okay. So with that, if you are stuck, we have a ton of resources. We are available on 1-to-1s. We don't want to see you stuck. I promise the 1-to-1s, if you're stuck, should get you unstuck. And I have seen countless students ROI on those. So we don't say, hey, just to promote those. We promote them because they're the quickest way of getting unstuck. But in the Bookkeeper Blueprint bundle, I know we had a coach who's super busy right now. And needed some ideas for posts. We have 50 Canva posts plus some more. I added a ton of posts for Facebooks that you can just copy, paste. They have the emojis. They're great. Just use them every single day. Go post something to your business page, post it to your personal page, post it on LinkedIn, post it on Instagram, post it wherever. YouTube, if you have a YouTube channel, there's community posts, go post it there. Whatever that means for you to be taking action, go copy, paste, post them, add to them, go live, whatever that means for you. And then in there, if you're stuck on engagement letters, if you're stuck on SOPs, if you're stuck on processes, we have a lot of templates and checklists for you. There is no reason to spend hours upon hours recreating the wheel. And I say that not like it's there for you. Super there for you. We hold nothing back. So if you have a question, if you need something, or if you need resources, one of the coaches probably has it, whether they've used it, we've used it, or again, all of us run businesses differently. We all have unique personalities, and that shows in our businesses. We all have different boundaries, different needs, and different seasons of lives. Some coaches never get on the phone. Me, I'm like, just get on the phone so I can get you off the phone so I can move on with my life. But that hasn't always been the case, because when I had 2 under 2, they were like on my back, like trying to get so I don't always recommend that. So if you need help getting people off the phone, if you're like, I'm tired of taking phone calls, let's set up some new boundaries. Let's make some tweaks and make it a business that you would enjoy. But if you need a quick win too, feel free to get on a 1-to-1 so we can kind of get a targeted plan in place. Because you can do 2 extremes. I say action breeds action, right? So be doing things. What I'm not saying is kill yourself spending 5 hours a day posting on Instagram, posting, writing a blog, sharing it on Dig, sharing it on Reddit, trying Facebook ads, trying Google ads, and like having no plan of where that's going to get you. I'm not saying do that, if that makes sense. I just want to put that caveat, because like I can write down a marketing plan that takes 8 hours a day. 80% of that will be useless. 20% of it will get you action. And so we don't want to spend 8 hours if the 1 hour can get us there. So I hope that works for you guys and helps. If you guys need any resources, let us know. We are working on June's training. I forgot what we decided for that. Anyway, so stay tuned for a post for that. I think we said SOPs. Yes, I don't remember which coach, or if that's me again. Who knows? Maybe me and Megan will do that one. So that will happen next week. Next week or the week after. So watch for that date. It'll probably come out via email, and we'll do a Facebook post for that. So watch for that. Okay. Outside of that, you guys have a really good summer. And now is the time. Don't forget, right now is, even if it feels slow to you, it's not slow. Behind the scenes, I can tell you it's not slow. But even if it feels slow, it's going to continue to pick up come August, September, October, when business returns are due again. So if they filed an extension, they're due again. So now's the time to be adding friends on Facebook. Even if you're not posting, Tom, still add people that you want to do business with. And yeah, if you're adding friends or adding connections, they need to be people you want to do their bookkeeping for. Then we want to nurture them. Whether you send them an email out of your Google Mail, that's totally fine. Hey, happy 4th of July. That's coming up next month. Can you get 100 people on your list? Even if it's an Excel list, right? The CRM that I have in the 5-day marketing challenge. Then we're going to email all of them come July 4th. Just happy July 4th.
Yep.
You can totally have 100 people in 2 weeks from Facebook, from whatever, from BNI, from networking, people you've talked to, 75, 50. Set a number. How many people are you going to reach out to on 4th of July to wish them a happy 4th of July? We can do the same on Facebook. We can do the same on LinkedIn. We can send them private messages saying happy 4th of July. Just showing up again to say, hi, remember me. And then going into August, September, we could continue to nurture them in a more targeted way with QuickBooks tips. If your books are still a mess, right? Like we can use those languages and those whatever solution it is that we solve to serve them going into tax filing season. And it could be simple as, I never want you to have to scramble last minute to do your books. I literally got a client because of that. She called me and she was like, wait, is this what you do? I am literally on my way to my CPA. I never want to do this again. I will never forget that conversation because it was so clear of, here's the solution I saw for people like her. Businesses like theirs, where it's a husband and wife kind of team. Here's the solution. Like she was doing it last minute. She is pregnant with her 9th child. Like that's not something she wants to be doing. So yeah, just anyway, so elongated food for thought on marketing. We don't want to just talk to people once and us assume they will never be a client. It's okay to create some automated processes to nurture those people. But Megan, you did it manually. I did it manually for a long time.
Yep.
I still kind of do it manually because I still go enter the email and select the people I want to email. And it's not super automated. Because just because sometimes I want more control over how I'm doing it. So anyway, I will jump off. It is 10 o'clock. I see people dropping off. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, let us know.
Have a great week, both of you.
Y'all too. Bye.